Good morning, Ascension family, on a beautiful Pacific Northwest summer day. I hope and pray that you and your families are well and getting some time to enjoy the beauty of our area and the beauty of this weather that we've been enjoying. I have just a brief encouragement for you this morning. It's been a couple weeks since I posted a Wednesday word, and I wanted to do so today in a similar, familiar vein to what I have done in the past. Hopefully, I'm not beating a dead horse, but I've preached on it, I've prayed about it. I'm concerned in this season of not only cultural divide, political divide, but I'm concerned about church divide and unity around the gospel as God's people. And so, one of the things I wanted to speak about specifically today is one of the challenges I think that we are facing in regards to maintaining and working towards unity. And it's the challenge of social distance. We are in an era of social distance, which means we're not seeing one another as much as we normally do. We are not together. We are not being forced. This diverse group of people, both in age and experience and ideology, coming together on the Lord's Day to worship the Lord together and to be centered on the gospel. That's not happening. It's not happening in its fullness, and we're not being forced to rub shoulders with those who are not like us, those who don't think like us. And instead, I fear, too easily and too often, some of us, not all of us, but many of us are going to Facebook. Now, I'm not on Facebook personally. I'm not a huge fan of Facebook, but I'm not here to bash Facebook. I recognize Facebook has its strengths, but I want to talk about one of its weaknesses. And I want to talk about one of its weaknesses in hopes that we will strive to not fall into that and to counteract that as best we can. And so I have just a brief encouragement, couple verses, and a brief encouragement to both writers of Facebook posts as well as readers of Facebook posts. And my encouragements are two words, and they both begin with A. And the first is audience analysis, and the second is assumptions, audience and assumptions. First, let me talk about audience, and this is to those of you who write Facebook posts. When I was in seminary, I had to take a class called Preaching and Congregational Analysis. It was a great class that sought to instill in us as communicators of God's truth that we don't preach, we don't speak about God's word in a vacuum, but we do so to a group of people that hopefully in some way we have come to know and understand, and hopefully because we have come to know them and understand, we can anticipate possible misunderstandings they might have about the way we say something, about we might anticipate objections they might have about the way we say something, and we can craft our sermons accordingly. When we're writing a Facebook post, what is our audience? It's our friends, but friends on Facebook, as you know, is a huge swath of people, a very diverse group of people, and it's probably not possible, at least not in the same sense that I was taught in seminary, to analyze your audience accordingly. But I think we at least need to ask the question and remind ourselves, who will be reading this post? What is the diversity of people that will be reading this post? How will they perceive it? How will they understand what I'm saying or what I'm linking? And that might give us pause on the kind of things that we're we're writing and linking to, knowing who is going to receive it. Our words, we could go to James 3 and be reminded that our words are like a spark that can start a forest fire. They're powerful. That's not just spoken words, that's written words as well. But our words are also supposed to be words on mission, right? Paul wrote to the Ephesian church that do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only that which is helpful for building up. And I fear some of us too easily go to Facebook not to build up, not to gently challenge or lovingly admonish, but to vent and to air our frustration. And frankly, airing frustration can be incredibly unhelpful and can be incredibly even destructive at times for those of us or for those who are reading those posts. And so before you write, before you post, think about your audience. Ask some questions about what you're trying to accomplish when you write this. That's the first thing to those of you who write and post. The second encouragement this morning is concerning those of you who read posts, and it is the word assumption. And specifically, be careful to not make assumptions. I've told more than one person I know, I've shared this with Austin as we've talked about ministry. One of the things I've learned in ministry, and I failed at this early on, is I made too many assumptions about people based upon what I perceived to be either their spiritual health, which was not the case, or other areas where I made assumptions that were wrong. And that doesn't mean I go in thinking badly about everyone or not giving the benefit of the doubt, but I just am more careful about assuming certain things based upon limited knowledge. Proverbs 25 verses 8 and 9 is helpful here, and I just want to read it to you. This is Solomon, and he says, "What your eyes have seen, do not hastily bring into court. For what will you do in the end when your neighbor puts you to shame? Argue your case with your neighbor himself, and do not reveal another's secret." I think the wisdom there that I want to just highlight is don't make assumptions, but ask questions. Behind every post is a motive, our experiences, our wounds. Those all may be negative. Those all may be bad. But before you jump to conclusions about a person, or before you extrapolate, well, if they said this, they must believe this, or ask questions, engage your neighbor. And again, this is hard to do because you're not naturally being forced to do this. But in this age of social distancing, we need to be engaging one another more than simply via social media blasts or Facebook posts. But as best we can, in person, on email, over the phone. The best of those being in that order: in person, over the phone, email last. And so that's my encouragement to you this morning, particularly you Facebook users, is guard yourselves against deepening the divide in our midst. And let's be careful with one another. Let's hold one another carefully, both as we think about one another before we post, as we think about why someone posted what they posted, and as we not make assumptions but dig deeper and seek to ask questions. Love you guys, praying for you all and our life and ministry together. I hope this was helpful, and hope you have a great day and a blessed week. Grace and peace to you. We'll see you this Lord's Day. Bye bye.